morning. Welcome to the Musician's Reflection. This is my notes on memorizing and beginning to make a musical setting for Psalm 55 now. I was able to get through the whole psalm with my daughters at the table, and I will go ahead and read it to you, and then I'm going to give you what insights I've learned about the world of the Psalms and as it applies to our own world. I will tell you a little bit about God's heart for music and love and joy, tell you something of who I am and how great Jesus is. And indeed, it's December, and there's much excitement and to do about that. Psalm 55 begins, "Listen to my prayer, O God, do not ignore my plea." I'm going to skip a few verses. I said, "Oh, that I had the wings of a dove. I would fly away and be at rest. I would flee far away into the desert. I would hurry to my place of shelter, far from the tempest and storm. As for me, I call to God, and the Lord saves me. Evening, morning, and noon, I cry out in distress, and he hears my voice. He rescues me unharmed from the battle waged against me, even though many opposed me. God, who is enthroned from of old, who does not change, will hear them and humble them, because they have no fear of God. My companion attacks his friends. He violates his covenant. His talk is smooth as butter, yet war is in his heart. His words soothe more than oil, yet they are drawn swords. Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. The wicked, bloodthirsty, and deceitful will not live out half their days. But as for me, I trust in you." So the first thing I wanted to share is this is, again, one of those psalms that is got some little bit of superscripts on it that tell you how it could be used in worship. Even though some of the lyrics you might think, how are we going to sing that publicly? It says for the director of music, which that was something David set up in the temple worship with stringed instruments, a maskil of David, so that this means more complicated work. And it is so interesting to go back to the world of Psalms and think that David set up the worship, and it was very important to him that God be glorified in worship. I know that my interim music director, Dr. John Wyckoff, keeps mentioning that at some point we could have only praise bands and not even know what is a choir. And yet this one doesn't mention a choir here. It's mentioning stringed instruments. It's hard to keep stringed instruments going. It's hard for people to practice their stringed instruments. So this is something that glorifies the Lord when we set forth to do that kind of work. And it's neat to think of these beautiful timbres and colors being sought after to express the poetry. There's a lot of betrayal in this, and so this seems to be looking forward to Jesus's experience with Judas, where Judas was kind of there, worshiping, seeming to go along with the mission of the disciples, and yet he betrayed Jesus. He was his close friend, his companion, and so this psalm has a lot of suspicion in it, and violence and strife are at work in the city. Nobody really knows for sure who and what group of people is against David. Chuck Swindoll said one tough thing is David here is reaping what he sowed, because he did sin against the Lord, and he had betrayed innocent blood in the case of Uriah the Hittite, who he had murdered, and now he's feeling himself be betrayed. So, of course, Jesus is an innocent lamb. He didn't have the pain of suffering for his own sin. He only suffered for all of our sin. And that makes me grateful that he says he is for us. He's our advocate. He's our greatest friend. And there is a world of a lot of darkness outside. So I wanted to kind of show a beautiful scene in that outside there's Christmas lights. And I know that as musicians we can get tired of Christmas and think, why are we doing this? Everybody else is having a lot of fun and we're not having a lot of fun because it's so much work for us to make it fun for other people. And I'm sure we should not grow weary in doing good, that in due time we will reap. We can enjoy others having joy. And there is darkness indeed. So we see a lot of darkness and light. And Jesus has overcome that darkness. And so as I get on to my tasks the day, and I've arranged with my daughters that they're going to trade driving lessons and their YouTubing time to help me put some strings to this psalm. I like it. It reminded me where it says, cast your cares on the Lord and he'll sustain you. He'll never let the righteous be shaken. And God, who's enthroned from of old, who does not change, will hear them and humble them because they have no fear of God. It reminded me that God is eternal. His purposes in Christ are eternal. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And as we go through changes in leadership and styles in music, that solidity is something to be celebrated. God, who is enthroned of old, who does not change, will hear them and humble them, because they have no fear of God, because they have no fear of God. But as for me, I trust in you. But as for me, I trust in you. But as for me, I trust in you. So I commend all of my listeners to trust in God for this Christmas season. He will provide. And look forward to additional musical material from Psalm 55.